What the hell is this map? Well, this map is looking at every single poll, the latest poll from every single US state. And although I haven't filled out everything yet, these are all the safe and likely states according to those polls. I left the more competitive states for this video. So let's start from the east to west coast, starting in Maine's at-large 2 electoral votes. The latest poll shows Biden up by 2, and that is a lean margin because it is under 3 but over 1, so we can give those 2 electoral votes to Joe Biden. Now let's move to New Hampshire, a bit more competitive than Maine, but still not that competitive. And in fact, this state that Biden won by several points, probably by, I forgot, but like over 8 points in 2024. And the latest poll shows Trump ahead by 2 points. Now let's move on to New Jersey, a state that was won by Joe Biden by a safe margin in 2020. And it shows Trump up by 1. That is extremely shocking. I would not agree with this poll, but since this is a video, we're going to do it. Now let's go to Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, this is one of the more competitive states, but now it's not really even competitive anymore, seeing how much Trump is winning. The latest poll shows Trump up by 7. That is a likely win in a key swing state. Now let's go to Virginia, another more Democratic-leaning swing state, but once again showed Biden barely even hanging on in a state that he won by a likely margin in 2020. Now let's move to North Carolina, a very Republican-leaning swing state. It shows North Carolina having Trump up by only 3, which is actually kind of shocking to me. But in other polls, Trump is up by much greater margins. Now let's move on to Georgia, a state that Biden won in 2020. This is an extremely southern state. The last time that Democrats won the state of Georgia before Joe Biden was in 1976 with a southerner, his home state, Jimmy Carter, won his home state of Georgia. But surprisingly, in the latest poll, Trump was only up by 1%. But once again, like North Carolina, there's many other polls that show Trump up by much greater. Okay, now let's move on to Michigan. This is, I'd say, the most democratic of the Rust Belt states. But Trump is leading. But in the latest poll, Biden was up by 5. That is extremely shocking, and that is a likely win in Michigan according to that poll. I once again disagree. I have Michigan as a tilt Republican state on my prediction, but once again, that's a video. So now let's move on to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is probably the most Republican of the Rust Belt states. In the latest poll, Biden was actually up by 3%, another shock poll. But it doesn't really matter because we already have Trump winning. Alright, now let's move on to Minnesota. This was a state that Biden won by several points in 2020. We haven't gotten a poll here for a while, I believe. Yeah. But in the latest poll, Trump was up by 1%, and although it is a very small margin, it is still extremely shocking that a Republican could win the state. I don't think Trump is going to win it because he lost it in 2016, and if he couldn't win it in 2016, I don't think he can win it in 2024. Now let's move on to probably the most Democratic state so far that we've done, New Mexico. This state went to Biden by a likely margin in 2020, And the latest poll shows Biden only up by 1%. Now let's move on to its neighbor, Arizona. I think Biden does have a chance in this state. The polls do not. The latest polls showed Trump up by 3, and most other polls show Trump up by much more. Let's actually go back to Nebraska's 2nd district because I actually skipped it. But if we go to Nebraska's 2nd district, the latest poll shows Biden up by 5. That is a likely margin. My prediction has Nebraska 2nd as lean, but 5% is close enough. Now let's do the final state of this video, Nevada. The latest poll here shows Trump up by 3%. That is a lean margin. So yeah, this is a map according to the latest poll from each state on 538 polls. And yeah, that's it for today's video. This actually spent me quite a lot of time. So if you could, please drop a like or subscribe, maybe both. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.